What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. Last Friday, I saw The Mummy. It's the 2017 reboot of The Mummy. Now, I'm not talking about the trilogy that starred Brendan Fraser, which first came out in 1999. I'm talking about The Mummy, the original, 1932, Boris Karloff, which was part of the Universal Monsters. Now, if you don't know what the Universal Monsters are, let me fill you in. Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Dracula, Wolfman, Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and also, of course, The Mummy. Now, that was the very first cinematic universe which ever existed in Hollywood. Now it's all about cinematic universe. Now, Universal Pictures now wants their entry into having a cinematic universe, and they've got it. And it's bringing back the Universal Monsters. They're calling this Dark Universe, and The Mummy kicks off the Dark Universe cinematic universe. Now, I don't like to call it a reboot or a remake. I would much rather call it a retelling of The Mummy story, because that's what it really is. It isn't remaking Brendan Fraser's original film. It isn't rebooting that franchise either. It's doing its own thing. It has its own identity. And this film is directed by Alex Kurtzman. It stars Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, Annabelle Wallis, Sofia Boutella as the Mummy, and also Jake Johnson, who provides a little bit of comic relief. Now, as for this film, I gotta tell you that if you're gonna watch this film, please, please, please do not compare it with the original Mummy, because that's what the critics are doing, and that is why this film has an 18% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, even though you shouldn't be persuaded not to watch this film. You should make your own decision. If you want to watch it, watch it. Even though I saw 18%, I still wanted to watch it just because I wanted to watch a Mummy film starring Tom Cruise. Just don't compare it with the original from Brendan Fraser, because they're two completely different films and it's two completely different directions. Alex Kurtzman was quoted saying that he wanted to give it its own identity, and he does exactly that. The problem with this film is that it is just very, very average at best. And the main reason why is because it brings us nothing new and fresh. A lot of everything that we've seen in this film has been there, done that. This is a film that is like multi-genre. We got horror in it, not even that scary. We got comedy in it, and the humor feels very awkward and forced. And then it's also an action-adventure. But a lot of the action-adventure elements, I'm talking about the action set pieces, are all been there, done that. We've seen this sort of thing, and therefore it doesn't quite make the film that exciting. The film is really not that engaging, to be completely honest. It is one of the few films where I felt that I'm wondering how long this is going to go on for, how much longer it's going to go on for. I was a little bit tempted to look at my phone to check the time, and also I did end up going to the bathroom because I felt like I wasn't that engaged. I mean, sure, I was watching what was going on, but it just didn't engage me in the sense where I was like really curious as to how everything is going to play out. I didn't feel that at all. And the main reason why is because they didn't keep it interesting. Okay, they got Sofia Boutella playing the Mummy, but she's not threatening. I didn't feel a sense of dread when she's walking towards you slowly. Tom Cruise played a very awkward role in this film. He plays like a very awkward and a kind of like a clumsy version of Ethan Hunt, and it's not, it's nowhere near as good as his performance as Ethan Hunt, but it's a very awkward role because you see his age show, in his appearance. And sure, he does a lot of stunts on his own, which I totally respect. But one thing that I felt was that the role didn't fit him. He played a very, very young role. It didn't make a whole lot of sense as to why someone his age would play a character that's meant to be played by like a 20 or 30-year-old. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and it just felt a little bit forced. Like it felt like they forced his role, his character into this film. All right. As for Jake Johnson, his one of the supporting roles, and also his sidekick, He's one of the reasons why I felt that the tone of this film is all over the place. I thought that this was meant to be a serious film, and then you bring in Jake Johnson's character, who provides a little bit of the forced comic relief that just felt completely out of place. It didn't fit. It totally didn't fit, and that's one of the biggest flaws in this film, is that the tone is all over the place. Is it an action adventure movie? Is it like with exploration? Or is it a horror film? Or is it a comedy? Like, it's all mixed into one, and that's why the tone just feels like it's got like this really odd direction to it. And this is coming from a director who's never directed a big movie ever, never directed a blockbuster. It's Alex Kurtzman. He wrote a lot of films, some films which were not so great, which included Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, but this is the type of direction we're dealing with here. I don't think he really knew what he wanted. He said that he wanted to create his own identity. Well, if you've just created that, and this is a kind of a mess of a film, to say the least. But I'll tell you that if you don't compare it with the Brendan Fraser film, if you go into this film just thinking of it as a mindless popcorn action adventure, then I think you enjoy that. And that's the way I went into this film. It's basically a mindless popcorn film, and because of that, I'll say that it is average at best, and I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I'm also going to tell you that you should not pay for 3D. Do not pay for 3D. It's a cash grab. Watch this film in 2D if you're going to watch it at all, because you're not going to feel any of the depth or the 3D effects jump right at you. It's just not going to be there. It's a poor post-conversion, and I'll tell you that there are no real standout action sequences in this film. Except for that plane crash sequence, was kind of cool. It was pretty cool. But that was the best part. And that part happens, in the first half of the film. And then afterwards, we're just talking about Sofia Boutella is just walking around with superhuman strength and not really doing a whole lot of anything interesting except going like this. And then destruction happens. If you've watched the trailer, you already know what to expect. If you've watched the trailer, you already have an idea of what's going to happen. And the trailers didn't do a whole lot for me. Really, it didn't do a whole lot for me at all. It didn't feel like I need to watch this film. I just decided to watch this film because I like films in this genre, and I also like Tom Cruise, but this is probably his one of the worst films he's ever made, well, in his career. So but I'm still giving it a 5 out of 10 because it put in some decent action scenes, like average action scenes. Wasn't anything new or fresh, but it wasn't a bad movie. I won't say that it was a bad movie. I don't think it's a bad movie at all. I just think it's average, so that's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. There you have it. That's all I gotta say in this review. As always, if you enjoyed this review and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex Yu. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Well, we encounter some new stuff, and I can't really tell you what it is, but I'll just tell you that there were a lot of jaw-dropping and shocking moments